Welcome to the Orange and Black Podcast, your source for everything Giants baseball.
Welcome back to the Orange and Black. My name is Sean Holloway, and this show's for Giants fans. We talk everything Giants using analytics, the eye test, common sense, and much, much more. And today I'm trying something different. We're doing a recap video of the Nationals. I want to do this where we do recap of every series, so you'll see a video, at least twice a week, maybe 3 times, depending on how the series line up. I would like to try to do every day, but we'll see if time allows. So I'm trying something new. So let's just get right into it. So game one was a very disappointing loss, right? The Logan Webb dominated for 8 innings, giving up only 1 run, 7 strikeouts, no walks, domination, right? Logan Webb that we know and love, and the offense gave him a lead into the 9th. Right, a 2-run lead. The Giants did something that they never do, is actually, play small ball and bunt in for a run, right? You would think going in the 9th inning, hey, the Giants should win this. Logan Webb shoved, you limited bullpen, right? So there's no chance they can blow it for 1 inning. 1 inning, right? We were wrong. Bullpen blew it, gave up 3 runs into the 9th. The Giants lost 4-3. Tony Vitello went to the bullpen and put out Keaton Winn, who pitched on a 3rd straight day after traveling across country from Chicago. And yeah, it went as bad as you thought it would, right? There's no reason why Keaton Winn should have been there on the 3rd straight day. However, there's a big however to this. Buster Poesy and Tony Vitello, Zach Manassian did not give Tony Vitello a good bullpen, right? Did not give him a good bullpen. So the options into that game, none of them were good. You had Keaton Winn pitching on a 3rd straight day, not good. Could have gone with Dylan Smith, but at that time he had 13 innings in his major league career. Like, hey, guess what? You're going to close out this game. That's not a good choice either. Or you had Logan Webb. Now, it has been reported that Logan Webb was approached by Tony Vitello that, hey, could you go in the 9th inning? And Logan Webb basically told him, hey, it's up to you, right? But then it's also been reported that Tony Vitello basically shut him down already after the 8th inning, and then asked him later, hey, can you go for the 9th? Like, you've already shut him down. He's not in that mindset anymore. So then they went to the bullpen ultimately, and they blew the lead and lost the game, right? So regardless of who was going to pitch in the 9th, Tony Vitello did not have any good options. Now, that doesn't take away that Tony Vitello made a bad choice, right? That was a bad choice going for the Keaton Winn for the 3rd straight day. But then again, he had no good choices. So he was damned if he did, damned if he didn't, right? It was a bad decision regardless. Now, the Giants did have their chances that game. They had 13 hits, but they went 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position, right? Logan Webb deserved better. He deserved that win. He gave him 8 strong innings, and once again, doesn't see the proper result for his effort. And that was a very disappointing loss. This was a very disappointing loss because the Giants should have won it. That was their 9th blown save of the season, and it was bad. It was bad because the bullpen has been terrible. And that is on Buster Poesy and Zach Manassian, and some, of course, on Tony Vitello because he chose to go with Keaton Winn. But front office, that's the main culprit of how bad the bullpen is, right? And yeah, so that was game 1. Game 2, Adrian Hauser on the bump. You knew it was going to be bad. You knew it wasn't going to be good, right? He hasn't been good all season. He's been a horrible, horrible signing in the offseason. And guess what? We get another year of him. So, of course, he gets roughed up in the 1st inning by giving up a 2-run home run to Luis Garcia. And it was bad. From there, it was bad, right? He only pitched 4 1/3 innings with 3 earned runs, which is actually surprisingly good for him. But that's not what you want from a starter, at all. The bullpen did them no favors and allowed 3 more runs and 5 walks the rest of the way, which has been a problem, the walks. You can't defend against walks. The Giants have been walking everybody under the sun, this last week and a half, right? Go back to the Milwaukee series where they're walking 7-8 guys a game. Now, the offense did surprise some people, right? They took 7 walks, something that the Giants never do, right? They have the worst walk rate in baseball, and somehow they took 7 walks. However, they couldn't score them, right? They went 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Again, horrible showing. In the first 2 games, they were 5 for 25. That is horrible. That is horrible, right? You're not going to win many games with that poor performance of hitting in those situations, right? Right? They loaded the bases 3 times in that game. 3 times. And 2 of them were with less than 2 outs, and they couldn't even score. Not a single run, right? They'd strike out or hit a weak, little pop-up or, do nothing in the at-bat. And they lost that game 6-3. If you just got a couple more hits, just a couple hits, or even just productive outs and those bases loaded situations, that game could have been a lot closer, right? The Giants could have won that game. But of course, they didn't, right? Now let's move on to game 3. But before I do, there's some things I need to talk about that really bother me, right? The reason for doing it now is because I want to end this video on a high note, because game 3 was the highest of highs, and I don't want this to be all doom and gloom, right? And it's well-deserved, especially after the thrilling comeback they had. So let's just get into this real quick, right? Vitello has been getting a lot of heat about the mismanagement in general, right? But in this case, the bullpen management, right? Right, game 1, he asked Webb to go in the 9th. At 9 pitches, Webb told him, hey, it's up to you. Vitello chose to go to the bullpen. No good options, right? Now, the bullpen in June has a 7.96 ERA, which is 30th. 30th, right? That's horrible, right? Almost 8 runs a game. That is terrible, right? So who was he supposed to go to at the end of game 1? Right? The dude who has 15 career innings? Tristan Bullpen Beck? Right? Sam Hentges? Who is he supposed to go to? Right? There's nobody good. No good option in there. Right? And that falls on Buster Posey and Zach Manassian. Right? They built this roster. Right? They gave Vitello nothing to work with. And that was one of my biggest critiques in the offseason was, hey, this bullpen is trash. They need to give Tony Vitello, a rookie manager, something to work with, something that it makes his time transitioning over to Major League Baseball, make that transition easier, right? Simplify things, basically handhold him, like give him no reason not to choose anything else, right? You know exactly who your late inning guys are. You know exactly who's going to close out your games, all that. And they chose not to. And that's a serious problem, right? Because it shows them being completely inept about building the roster, and they act extremely arrogant about it too, right? They act like they're so much smarter than everyone else, and it's annoying. It's really annoying, right? For example, when Buster Posey was asked on KMBR about not having an established closer, he went out to act like everyone was calling for Edwin Diaz, right? It came across as if he only thought Diaz was the only available closer on the market. Right, there were several options. You could go with. But according to him, only Edwin Diaz was available. Nobody was asking for him. Right? We knew he was going to get some outrageous offer somewhere because that's what he had with the Mets. Nobody was asking for him. We were just asking for somebody competent. Because we all saw what Ryan Walker did in 2025. We didn't want him in that spot ever again, right? He was terrible. Absolutely terrible. And then he was asked if he had any regrets. His response was, no regrets. What do you mean, no regrets? What do you mean? We're 13 games under 500. You don't have a closer. They just blew, right? They're blowing leads left and right. The bullpen is filled with mediocre middle relievers. Your pitching staff overall is one of the worst in the league. The starting rotation is horrific. What do you mean you have no regrets? What do you mean you have no regrets? It continues to amaze me that Buster Posey told us with a straight face that he wanted a team built on pitching and defense, while giving us the shit show of a bullpen while being so revered as a catcher as he was. right? He was there for the championships. He should know why they won him in the first place. Pitching. It's always pitching. They had the core four who were lights out. You get it to those guys, game's over. Game's over. You knew who was going the last 3 or 4 innings of a game because they would come out, shut it down, Giants win. Championship won. Right? Simple as that. Was not difficult. They let Tyler Rogers go, who had been dominant for them since he came into the league. You're telling me you couldn't afford $15 million to keep him in San Francisco? Right? What's crazy about it, too, is that they're so risk averse that they don't want to sign large pitching contracts because of the fear of injuries. But the problem with it is Tyler Rogers doesn't get injured. He never gets injured. He throws slow. He's a submarine guy. Is less wear and tear on the arm. And he's been there for the Giants dominating in the 8th inning. You tell me you don't have $15 million for that guy? Right? It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. Right? If this team had a decent pitching staff, and I'm not talking best in the league or top 5, anything like that, just decent, right? They would be at least a 500 team right now. Right in their wild card conversation. No joke whatsoever, right? But instead, they have one of the worst pitching staffs in the league. That is why they are 13 games under 500. That's the sole reason. Yeah, the offense was terrible in the beginning and the pitching was decent, but a good pitching staff keeps those games close. So that maybe you might have, one of those lucky hits late in the game. Maybe keeping game close late in games gives your offense, your team, a little bit of hope. Gives them a little bit of something. Hey, we can scratch across a run or two. We can do that. No, but if you're down 4 or 5 runs in the 9th inning, it's over. It's over. How many times are you going to make a comeback in the 9th inning? Right? Yeah, we just saw that. Right? We just saw that. But how often does that happen? Not many, right? So a decent pitching staff keeps them in the 500 slot area, and they could potentially go on a run, right? Especially with the way Jung Hoo Lee and this offense has been rolling a little bit, and Bryce Eldridge. But no. Horrible pitching staff, horrible defense, and they're 13 games under 500. All right. Now, enough of the doom and gloom. Let's get into the best and only comeback of the season for the Giants to end this video on a high note. All right. Game 3. Now, let's give you some context before we get into it. Going into this game, the Giants were 0-30 on the season when trailing after the 6th inning, right? That's wild. That is wild. Not a single win when trailing after the 6th inning. Means if they were losing after 6, no chance. The final 3 innings, no chance. That's wild. That's wild. And one team out of 3,091 chances have come back down 8 runs to win a ball game. Giants are number 2. Giants are number 2. The record is now 2 in 3,090. That's wild. That is wild. And so, of course, the Giants come back to win it. They become their first comeback win of the season. Wonderful. Right? They go into the game. I was all prepared to watch them get swept. I even posted about it. Say, hey, get who's ready for them to get swept tomorrow? Who's ready to get, they're going to get swept after the game 1. I was like, they're going to get swept this series. Like, not even close, right? Adrian Houser going game 2. Robbie Ray going game 3. But against that offense, the best offense in baseball, yeah, that ain't gonna end well. It was terrible, right? Robbie Ray going into the game had a ERA over 6 in his last few games, right? I think in the last 4 games he had an ERA over 6. The bullpen's in shambles, and they were facing a lefty who will make you fall asleep, with his slow curveball. I thought they had no chance whatsoever. And as the game went on, it went exactly how I thought it was. Ray was good until the 6th, ended up giving 5 runs. Carson Seymour gave up 4 more. Chapman hit a home run in the 6th, and I was like, I just thought of the CP3 meme, the big home run down by 42 type of, big 3 down by 42. That's what I was thinking about. But then after seven innings, it was 9-1. I was like, yep. Giants lose. There's no way. They're down 9-1. They haven't come back to win a game all year. And you're in the bullpen. Like, there's no chance. No chance. They were well on the way to lose in a blowout fashion. I was thinking, what position player is going to be thrown? Because Christian Koss is injured. He's in the minors, but he's also injured. He has a broken wrist or a broken hand or something like that. What position player is going to be pitching today? I wonder. Then the eighth inning happened. Chapman and Devers go back-to-back to lead off the inning, make it 9-3. Again, thinking about the CP3 meme, I was like, ooh, like, good for them. They're going to hit in with their career numbers, but it's mostly in garbage time, right? Those things did not matter. Then Lee and Eldridge got walked. Susak hit a double to make it 9-4. It perked me up a little bit. I was like, hey, we have runners on second and third, no out. 9-4. If we can get those runners in, it'd be 9-6. There's a chance. Not a big one, but hey, there is a chance. You never know. Then Gilbert got an RBI ground out, make it 9-5. Great. Woo. And then for some reason, Tony Vitello pinch hit Jonah Cox for Buddy Kennedy, a guy who hasn't had a hit all year since being called up. Jonah Cox is a better defender too. So why? They're both right-handers. It's not like he went from a right to a lefty or a lefty to a righty. They're both right-handed. Like, what was the point of that? And of course, it happened exactly as I thought it would. Buddy Kennedy struck out. Now, before the strikeout, there was a wild pitch, made it 9-6. But again, strikeout for Buddy Kennedy. It's like, what was the point of that? What was the point of that? And then Schmidt flied out to end the inning like one pitch later. And I was like, all right, it's 9-6. They have a chance. You never know. Right? But at the same time, I'm like, they're still down 3, and you have to go to the 9th inning. But then the Nationals came up on a leadoff bomb. Made it 10-6. I was like, all right, that's over. That's game. That is game. There's no way the Giants come back. They just immediately gave up a run, which they always tend to do for some reason this year, is give up a run or give up runs the following half inning from after scoring. Like, why? Like, they just can't keep another team from scoring, right? But luckily, that was the only run that they got, and that is where the fun began, right? In the bottom of the 9th, Arise leads off with a double in Triple's alley. Chapman hits a double off the bricks in right field. All right. And now it's 10-7. I'm like, all right. Like, they're starting something. Devers got walked. Then I saw Jung Hoo Lee come up. I was like, all right, first and second, nobody out. Jung Hoo Lee, who's been on an absolute tear, comes up. I'm like, all right, he's going to do something. Hopefully he doesn't hit into a double play, but hopefully he hits it, gets a base hit, a walk, productive out, something, right? Be productive. Gets it single to left field to load the bases. And I was like, when that happened, I was looking at the third base coach, like, please don't send him. Like, I didn't want another Borg incident there at home plate by sending Chapman. Chapman probably could have made it, but I didn't want them to risk it, right? Didn't want them to risk it. And then Bryce Eldridge comes up. And I tweeted out, bottom of the 9th, no outs, down by 3. Here we go, right? I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know what, but I knew something was going to happen. He was batting .400 with a 1.15 OPS against lefties this year, right? I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew he was going to do something. 3 pitches later, he does the unthinkable. Walk-off grand slam, right? The park went bananas. I went bananas. Everybody went bananas. He became the youngest player in MLB history to hit a walk-off grand slam at 21 years, 233 days. And the previous guy was none other than Hall of Famer Roberto Clemente, who was the previous youngest in 1956 at 21 years and 342 days. Bryce Eldridge saves the day. The Giants score 10 runs in the final 2 innings of the game does the unthinkable, do the unthinkable. Wild. Absolute wild. Right? It was an unbelievable end to the series. Unbelievable. They became the first team since 1947 that the Giants have won a game when trailing by 8 runs into the 8th inning. That's a long time, right? That was back when they were the New York Giants. That is wild. Wild. Right, Bryce Eldridge is a superstar. I have no problem saying that. He deserves an extension. He deserves a blank check. He is going to be the face of this franchise, like everybody's predicting. He's going to do it. Right, he ranks first among qualified new NL rookies for Rookie of the Year. Now, he doesn't qualify for it just yet. He still has time to get the at bats to do so. If they bring him up higher into the lineup, he can get the at bats. But he's right now number 1, so we'll see how that goes the rest of the season. When asked about it after the game, he said, "That's moments you dream of as a kid. I think about it every day, that I'm going to keep working hard because I want to be the face of the franchise. That's something that motivates me every day. Like I said, I want to be in that moment. I want to be that guy." Right? That is something you want to hear from your best hitting prospect. You want him to not shy away from those moments. He definitely showed that today, or showed that on that day, right? At the end of the day, they were able to salvage a series. Yeah, they lost the series 2-1, but they were able to at least salvage a game. They did not get swept. They came back. Everything, it all looked like they were about to. Bryce Eldridge came in to play hero. And wonderful win. I'm happy about it. Give that man a blank check. Now they go to Chicago. Or they don't go to Chicago. Chicago comes here, and they need to win the series. Get them, start winning 2 out of 3 games. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's see what they can do. But what a win. And with that, I'll leave it there. If you like this content and you want to help support this channel, don't forget to leave a like and hit the subscribe button. Turn on notifications and share this with everyone that you know. Don't forget to leave a like in the comment section down below. Tell me what you think, right? I do really appreciate the support. And don't forget to follow me on X and Instagram at orange_black pod. And I'll see you on the next one. Go Giants.